So I flew to Italy with my boyfriend. We landed in Rome, but then he caught another flight by himself to the south of Italy to visit friends and family, while I met up with my girls, Jennifer and Carlene. Like normal tourists, we first went to visit the Colosseum, where we had some trouble with security. Because Carlene tried to bring in a gladiator helmet, even though we told her not to, our poor tour guide had to keep Carlene's helmet in her bag during the tour. Despite the embarrassment, we still enjoyed the tour. Then we headed to the Vatican. And, oh, Carling. So we're entering the Vatican, and we just had drama scenario number 2. Carling doesn't have her drawing gear because they didn't let her bring it in. As we said. She just doesn't listen. Right, so I really appreciated the art, but for me personally, it was way too overcrowded. After that, we grabbed some of the best gelato I've ever had in my life. That night, we got dressed to go out. We are going out tonight, motherfuckers. It started with a lovely dinner. And then we ended up at this dope club with some great tunes.
So awesome. Music, amazing. Atmosphere, fantastico.
Day 2 in Rome. It feels like day 10.
Yesterday was a long day.
After having a traditional Italian breakfast,
The cappuccino here is great. I really highly recommend.
we went to check out the Trevi Fountain and all the tourists. You don't sit on the fountain. I did that, and
You got whistled at.
yeah, I got whistled at, and not the good kind of whistle, like the kind of whistle. There you go. See that? People, you can't sit. You cannot sit. You gotta get off the fountain. Well, about to conquer Spanish Steps. We were definitely burning off all the carbs from the night before. And it's a very nice view from the top. After that, we stumbled upon a park and rented some kind of electric bike and proceeded to ride around the park and try not to crash. Carling is gonna get arrested. I think that is her goal for this trip, is to go to jail. Yeah, I sure am. I'm talking about how you want to get arrested on this trip. After a little runway action, we found a nice restaurant for lunch. It was more upscale and the food was delicioso. That evening, we went to check out these pop-up bars along the Tevere River, where we got to enjoy some very unique local wine I have never heard of.
It's a dry wine, but you have to taste it because I don't know if you could like it.
It's a little strange, but it's okay.
The following day, we rented a car and left Rome.
The main chauffeur, a professional, Carling in the back. Shout out to her for the data. And then me, I don't know how it's gonna look.
2 hours later, our first stop was at the hot springs in Saturnia. It stinks a little bit because of the sulfur in the springs, but the water was warm and it felt so good. After a few hours there, we left and headed to Siena. Siena was actually one of my favorites. The center of town takes you back to medieval times, and the cathedral is just breathtaking. The next morning, we drove north to the lovely city of Parma. We were here for one thing and one thing only, and that was to see Cristiano Ronaldo play in the Juventus versus Parma soccer match. Shout out to my boyfriend's sister Sonia for the amazing seats. The game was a lot of fun, and Juventus won the match. The next morning, we were back on the road.
Natasha figured out how to pump gas in Italy. You gotta go all the way over there. Okay, come here. And what kind of gas is it? Because they got some weird gas over here.
Our next destination was the seaside town of La Spezia, where we met up with my brother. That evening, we had another insanely delicious meal, complete with a variety of cheeses, pasta for everyone, and dessert to share. The next morning, we took the train to check out Cinque Terre. Side note, Carling is not with us at this time as she flew to a different country for a few days. Anyways, the first Cinque Terre stop was Monterosso al Mare. So beautiful. For some reason, I then made us hike to the next town, which turned out to be a pretty intense hike that lasted about an hour and a half. It was not at all easy, but the views were well worth it. When we got to Vernazza, we explored a bit first and then grabbed a quick delicious lunch by the sea. We then took a boat back to Monterosso. Do you live here?
6 months here and 6 months in Spain.
And relaxed on the beach for a few hours. We then took a train over to my favorite Cinque Terre village just in time for dinner. I got Paestum lobster with potatoes. Nothing, I'm on a diet. And we admired the village during sunset. The next day, my brother went on his way, and Jen and I drove south to Marina di Pietrasanta just so we could spend the day at a beach club.
Yeah, maybe be a little more than friends, you and I. Yeah, but lately you've been acting like a ghost and never answer when I hit your phone. If you wanna go, just let me know. I guess I never should've let you in so close to my body. I should've known, just because you spent the night doesn't mean you want me. I should've known not to let my guard down so damn fast before even knowing where we're really at. Guess I never should've let you in so close to my body, my body, my body.
The following day, Jen and I took off to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
We are on our way to the Leaning Tower, but first we're gonna stop and get breakfast and hopefully cappuccino if we make it on time to not be judged.
I got 20 minutes before I can't order a cappuccino anymore.
As cool as the Leaning Tower is, there's just too many tourists. After that, it was time to head to Firenze for a few days. Out here in Firenze.
AKA Florence.
And you know, we walked around and checked out some sights. And then, of course, more delicious pasta. That evening, Carling joined back up with us again for her last night in Europe, so we went out and about.
Show them how to get the taxi.
That's how you get taxis. It's not working so far.
First, we went to a rooftop bar and enjoyed a few drinks.
Cheers! Wait a minute, what just happened to my thing? Damn! Do you see this?
Yo, I got one just dripping.
We can't even cheers properly.
You leave tomorrow. Do you have anything special to say?
I love Italy. You guys are awesome.
That's the wise words to say. He's full of wisdom.
Then we found an awesome club. For our last full day together, Jen and I booked this incredibly awesome Tuscan wine tour. Our tour guide was super cool and we just had so much fun with our group. It first started with amazing views of all of Florence, and then we headed to our first winery an hour away and the views were like, damn! Pestum.
Doesn't sound like fun.
So yeah, we were given a tour of the vineyard and saw how they made their wine. And then we had some wine for breakfast, basically. Our second stop was not a winery, but it was this wonderfully preserved medieval town. Walking around here made me feel like I was back in time, or in a Game of Thrones scene. When you visit, don't forget to try this place. They have been voted world's best gelato. Okay, so on to the next winery. By this time, we're ready for lunch, and of course, more vino.
Let yourself be free, and maybe you will find that there is more to life than being pretty.
Smells amazing, yeah? I love it.
Just a drizzle.
He said it's an
Just a
aphrodisiac.
drizzle? He said he's gonna put just a drop. Look at all that.
It was just one drop. I started like 5 minutes ago, but it was still at the top.
It was one drop.
We even had more wine before heading back. And the drive back was oh so much fun because...
Okay. So before.
Good job, guys. Good job, guys. Good job.
So the next day, we drove back to the Rome airport where I dropped off the rental car and Jen caught a flight home. I then hopped on the train and headed south to Pestum to meet up with my boyfriend and his family. To meet Massimo, who's over there. And he picked me up at the train station and his sister's car is not working now. It's not starting. But Pestum looks nice. So once they got the car started, we headed to the resort they were staying at. This resort was so beautiful. The food there was delicious and they had bunnies.
Natasha is feeding her Italian bunnies, ladies and gentlemen.
And just a short walk away from the scary woods, you'll arrive at their beach club. That evening, we all had an amazing dinner together. After dinner, his family surprised me with a cake because the next day just so happened to be my birthday. With that said, the next day, my boyfriend and I packed our bags and we began our wild drive up the coast because we were celebrating my birthday somewhere special. Ah yes, the stunning seaside town of Positano. Pictures do not do this place justice, but just like all tourist attractions, there was a lot of people. Crazy, makes you wonder when you'll be able to visit places like this again.
I never thought I'd ever be stuck by you. Oh, watch me dancing in the colors, lightning, blowing up a thunder, wash it over me. We got everything we need.
So we're in Positano, enjoying these steps. They're very lovely. Massimo's telling me a story. And then
Just dipped in her eye. On,
in my eye.
in Positano on her birthday. Just saying.
What a gift.
Right?
That's how you tell
Cannot get
someone.
better than this.
But it's
That's
okay.
love.
I'm
That's
not
real love.
blind. I can still see.
So far,
So
maybe
far.
later.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Maybe later.
Moonlight on your naked skin.
next day, which was also our last day, after having a wonderful breakfast. And now we're gonna rent a scooter and hopefully I come out alive. It was my first time riding on a scooter. Oh my god! Oh, things are happening. Things are happening. Oh my god. I was a little terrified at first, but after a while, I was able to just enjoy the ride.
Best pilot ever.
We stopped at this remote beach about 6 miles away and enjoyed this beautiful restaurant for lunch. And then of course, we couldn't leave without checking out Amalfi. After that, it was time to make our way back to Rome to catch a flight home. Well, that concludes this trip, and thanks for watching.
Every hotel room should have this.
Yay.